were very poor. I mean, I can remember on what they call relief. It was you. My dad had to go to work for WPA, which was a charity thing. Well, it was something that the government put out, and then you had so much money from that or something, but it really wasn't enough to. But we made out. I mean, everybody I knew was poor, and so it wasn't that I envied anybody or anything. And when I read so many stories about it, I think we coped very well with it. But we were very poor, and but I don't remember actually going hungry or anything, and just didn't have a lot of clothes or anything. But I don't think I suffered in any way, because I didn't know anybody that was a lot better off or anything that I envied, and so I think that I got through it pretty good. Oh, gosh. Oh, my gosh. The Okies. They were a menace. To me, those people, they just all flocked out here. And then they'd sit around and tell you, oh, back home. Everything was wonderful. But they had left back home to come out here and moan and groan. And as soon as we had, there was an earthquake in 33, I think, or something like that, where a lot of damage was done. And you should have seen all those Okies all packed up, heading back home. And so I don't have very good memories of them, because they flocked out here. And I know they had a bad time, but the ones that came out here, all they did was moan about what they left, and they were crowding everybody here, and so they were here. Oh boy, they were here. Oh my gosh, yes. Oh my. Oh, yes, I remember. Because I graduated in high school in 1940, and a lot of the fellows I graduated with were over there in Pearl Harbor. Knew a lot of them, and some of them were killed. But it was a bad time. We had blackouts, and there was all kinds of weird things happening. It seemed like it. But yes, I remember Pearl Harbor. I remember the morning it happened. It was fellow that I knew that we were had the radio on. We're practicing a dance step, and then all of a sudden the news came on about that, and so anyway, we got in his car and started driving around a little bit, and not too far from where I lived, there was a place where there was a lot of people got electricity from. I don't know what you would call it, but anyway, there was soldiers already guarding it, and the soldiers were out immediately. It seemed like they were every place, and it was and then of course the rumors started, especially about like in my neighborhood where oh my God, so and so. What about so and so and so and so? And yeah, so I remember that. No, not in our neighborhood, but in school. We had where I went. I was real good friends with the fellow that I went out with. He had a real good friend that was Japanese, and his family owned a grocery store. And every year, call him Moss, but he had a brother that was a family. I mean, that the family would send the boys to Japan to go to school during the summer. So we had summer vacation, and so of course they were rounded up and taken to the camp, but and then it sort of, when my brother was killed, well, then I was kind of bitter about a lot of things, and I got to thinking about when this family that, the Japanese that sent, their sons to Japan and for school during the summer, but anyway, I'm sure he was the nicest guy, and I just couldn't picture him anything like that. But yeah, there was a lot of, I mean, knew several, and up in Santa Barbara, across from my uncle, there was a Japanese family, and they owned a nursery of some sort, and they were really nice people. They got in touch with my uncle when they got back, when they were released from that camp that they were sent to, a few years later, and they started a nursery again, and they were very, very nice people, and so it just hard to, and of course where I went to school, it was like a League of Nations, because there was Italians and Germans, and they all had relatives that lived over there, and there was Japanese, there was Chinese, and so it was, like I said, I always thought of it later as a sort of a League of Nations.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, it was sort of an interesting place to be, I guess. There wasn't much I knew how to do. I mean, that I knew to offer to do, and when women, started getting into joining service, my dad was very emphatic about, no, you don't do that, and so I didn't, but anyway, but I guess, there was a war effort all the time. It's different, but about different ways to do things and everything, and but I didn't do anything other than to, oh yeah, that much about it, because UCLA, these two black guys that became so famous, and football players and everything, but also white girls, dating white girls all right and left, but it was because these gals were there for something. It was sort of exciting to them and everything, but of course that never made the news. That was a thing that was never brought up or anything, but it was sort of, because I knew a lot of some friends that went to UCLA, and but
He went to UCLA.
so, yeah, I remember things like that too. Yes, I remember that. They went about, doing things, that the ones that did make the big break, like the bus riders and so forth. They were very brave people. I remember all of that. But it was I was included in and that, and because my skin was darker too. It was in Texas. I was with and sister-in-law in a place, and we didn't get served, and I kept wondering, what was the matter? And we finally left, and it took me about a year or so to figure out that why we didn't get served is because of my dark skin, because I've always, every summer, gotten darker anyway, and so it was, oh, I was in on some of that too. Oh my gosh, yes. Yes, I remember that. I had a neighbor that, she had some beliefs I didn't really go for, but anyway, she hated Catholics. Really, really hated Catholics. A lot of people did. And my husband worked at Goodyear, and they had trouble. Some guy didn't want them to lower the flag. He was, because they immediately ordered, that was ordered for the flag to be lowered, and this jerk, they almost had to fight him to make him get away and let them lower the flag. He didn't want them to. There was these people that were so against Kennedy that they did that. That was there was a lot of nuts around, and so that was, you just didn't believe it. You just couldn't believe it, and so, and then to see it on television, it was horrible. That was a really sad time. Oh, yeah. Well, as long as I could remember, that we were, everybody. I mean, I thought we were at war with Russia a long time before. It seemed like all my life I thought we were at war with Russia. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I remember all of those things happening. He was, when you would hear him speak, it was, it was to be on the radio a lot and everything, I didn't see, where the people loved him like they did. I mean, black people, and he didn't, I just knew of him, and that's about all.
Well, I would have to say that we always knew that we were Basque, and that was somehow different and important. But we never really identified with Basque culture, so it's hard to really say, who we are. I would say that politically, my family had some real strong tendencies to lean towards Democrats over many generations, and that Franklin Delano Roosevelt was very revered. But whether that's a tradition or not, I don't know what that would be. Obviously, World War II affected our family probably the most, because that's how my grandparents met each other. And because my grandfather was stationed in California during the war for most of it, his time in the service, that it helped shape their belief about wanting to come here when they had the opportunity to come here. And so my grandparents met, during the war, were married right after in 1946. And so really you talk about the family, dynamic on the paternal side. And then on my mother's side, obviously the war probably had some impact on her because she was adopted. My grandmother lost her brother in the war, had another brother that served, and knew many people that were impacted by it. we always had, my grandmother and my grandfather had this sort of weird Texas concoction that came through, and we always had it. They always had it, and we always had it. And it was just a hamburger and bean meal that you made it with tomato sauce or like a picante sauce, and that fed as many nights in the Amestoy household. It was cheap and it was efficient. It was almost like a chili, but it was, you could make it with a can and a pound of ground beef, and if my grandfather had it, it had it with jalapenos. Reunions are very small and limited to pretty much immediate families. And the last one we had was in 2013. They're not organized, multi-family, multi-generational. You know, it's usually immediate family members only.